The plan was simple: make vampires a reality and win the war. Summer 1945. America ends the war in the Pacific. Despite a decisive conclusion to the war, conflict would continue for many budding nations now free of the Empire of Japan. Unfortunately, some would fall under the yoke of a new empire. In 1946, with the passing of the Bell Trade Act, effectively tying the economies of the United States and the Philippines together, a trend of US involvement in Philippine politics, often placing CIA advisors alongside Philippine government officials. A classic American pastime that has never ended poorly. Naturally, the local fighters known as, and I am going to butcher this, the Huk Balahap, or Hooks as I am going to continue referring to them, who just escaped the oppression of the Japanese, were not welcoming to their new lords. As almost seems tradition at this point, this group of holdouts was quickly labeled communist by the US government alongside government officials placed by CIA operatives. Side note, they did rebrand themselves in 1950 as communist, adopting a flag bearing the titular hammer and sickle, but that was after the CIA called them that. This movement would turn into open rebellion in August of 1946, following the assassination of a Huk-aligned representative known as Juan Faleo. The prosecutors of this act are still unknown, but it is speculated it was organized by wealthy landlords, the administration at the time, or both. Regardless, Faleo's assassination sparked an exchange of assassinations and skirmishes between the government and the Hooks. This came to a head in 1950 when the US government became concerned with the safety of interests within the country, and President Truman approved a special military assistance package, which roughly translates to, we'll give you some CIA agents, weapons, and equipment, deal with this. So this brings us to our boogeyman, a man by the name of Edward Lansdale. He was a former corporate ad exec turned CIA operative after he was recruited by the OSS during World War II to aid in psychological operations, and he made that his career rather quickly. I would like to point out that this man was criticized by his peers at the CIA for being unconventional and too extreme in his approaches to his operations. Keep in mind, this is coming from people who brought us classics such as MK Ultra and heart attack guns. They're the ones who thought he was too extreme. In 1950, Lansdale was asked to leave his position at the CIA schoolhouse to advise in the Philippines, an opportunity he took enthusiastically. He even went so far as to call it playing hooky to go to war, because that is a wonderfully sane thing for a person to say. Lansdale was assigned to, at the time, Minister of National Defense, later President of the Philippines, Ramon Magsaysay. I am like 90% sure I'm saying that right, correct me if I'm wrong. Lansdale was assigned to help build the new country, officially. And if that just so happened to include putting down a recent rebellion, well, that was just a happy side effect. Over the next 3 years, Lansdale would employ a few tried and tested methods. The main one he employed was a modified Eye of God tactic. This was a strategy of using hidden speakers or megaphones to project voices relaying ominous or threatening messages, or at times just disturbing sounds such as animals in distress, women screaming, or babies crying. I don't care how tough you are, you hear this coming from the jungle at night, you're losing sleep. This tactic was used heavily towards the end of World War II to sow discord in Yahtzee command structures, and it's still used today quite often. Lansdale would add his own special touch to this, however. What he would do was he would uncover members of local communities that were helping the Hook rebels, and he would send teams in the dead of night to enter the village unnoticed and leave what essentially amounts to curse marks on the doors of the people that were helping the Hooks, in an effort to make it seem like helping the Hooks would bring you danger or bad luck, so that any assistance to them would be viewed as an ill omen. Now, these operations proved moderately effective at reducing willingness to assist the Hook rebels, but it was horribly ineffective at getting the Hooks to leave their camps located in the foothills. So Lansdale took the next logical step and chose to do what at the time was referred to as unconventional warfare, but is more commonly known today as a war crime. The operation began by seeding rumors of what is known as a aswang, basically a Philippine vampire. They did this by sending out informants who were acting as if they were from neighboring villages, and just, through your average conversations mentioning, oh yeah, there's been a creature out in the woods killing my livestock, and just, saying little things like that, which over time snowballed as rumors spread and more was added to the tale, until it became generally believed that there was some mythical creature hunting in these forests. The second step was to train a small group of operatives to be able to trail a hook patrol, steal the last man in that patrol without anybody noticing, string him up, drain him of his blood, and leave him on the trail for his comrades to find, completely exsanguinated, with the thoughts of the aswang hunting in the area still fresh in their mind. This plan was put in motion in the closing months of 1953, leading to the near-complete dissolution of the Hook Rebellion in 1954. Now, I may not be an expert, but knowing that there is a government out there willing to do something so heinous to you might be enough to get me to stop doing whatever I'm doing, but that's just me. Naturally, this would be promptly swept under the rug, and after a few years, Lansdale was moved to Vietnam due to rising tensions and communist influence in the region. We know how that ended. These events remained unknown to all but those involved until Edward Lansdale released his memoir, In the Midst of Wars, An American Mission to Southeast Asia, in 1972, in which he recounts his operations with pride, considering it one of the highlights of his career. I guess the moral of the story is, if the US government calls you a communist, or in the modern day, a schmerist, run. Because there is going to be a new law saying that they can't do whatever it is they have planned for you. Just as soon as someone finds out they did it, that is. Now, if y'all want to look more into this, I'll have my sources down in the description. Also, little known creator on this app, Wendigoon, has a great video up on this. I'll have a link to that too. Go check it out. Love you, weirdos.